Welcome in to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Folks, today's program is an interesting one. I'll tell you, this crime happened, a little less than 30 years ago. I'll say 27 years ago, just for argument's sake. And with this crime, it was a tragic crime, a famous crime, that when we all look back at it, we may be standing on the wrong end of history. And the reason we're standing on the wrong end of history is we all assume that it was the parents who did it. I'm talking, of course, about Jon Benet Ramsey. And we all assume it was the Ramseys. I think most of us assume it was the Ramseys that had some bit of guilt in this crime. Now, if I told you you're absolutely wrong on this, I'm sure a few of you would want to stand up and want to argue with me. You might want to fight with me on this deal. But the fact of the matter is, when you go back and you review the evidence says otherwise. Now, there's a detective out there who unfortunately has passed away by the name of Lou Smit, a brilliant detective who broke this case wide open right away and had it right from the beginning. But unfortunately, it was Boulder law enforcement. And we say we do make mistakes here, and we'll get into it with our guest. Our guest today is John Wesley Anderson. The name of the book is Lou and Jon Benet, a legendary lawman's quest to solve a child beauty queen's murder. And he was, not only was Lou Smit his mentor and a good friend of his, but really kind of showed him the ropes as far as everything goes when it comes to investigating. And Lou had it down. He had it right from the beginning that it was not the Ramseys, that someone did break into the Ramseys' home and unfortunately was responsible for the death of Jon Benet Ramsey. Now, we'll get into that here in a moment. But we want to get into the life of Lou Smit today here on True Crime Tuesday. Let me tell you about our guest before we bring him into the program here. John Wesley Anderson is a former homicide detective turned author after retiring from a 30-year law enforcement career, and it's a decorated one at that. We will talk about that career as well on today's program. He has won the Literary Award for Excellence from the Historic Preservation Alliance of Colorado Springs and the 2022 Golden Quill Award from the Friends of Pikes Peak Library District. He's an author of 7 fiction and regional nonfiction books and lives in Colorado. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in to True Crime Tuesday, John Wesley Anderson. John, welcome in.
Thank you, Tim. It's a delight to be with you this evening.
For those of us not familiar or who haven't read the book yet, tell us a little bit about Lou Smit and who he was and what was so remarkable about this man. I know because I sat and read the book this weekend and was astounded at how thorough he was with his investigations. But who exactly was he?
He really was an exceptional man, but really a brilliant detective. And Lou was my best friend. He was 20 years older than I was. So in some ways, he was like kind of an older brother, although he was old enough to be my father. But he was such a unique person. I haven't met anyone quite like him. When it came to homicide investigations, he really had no equal. And he was such a patient man, and he was so willing to share what he knew and to learn from each of the crimes that we were involved in. He was involved in over 200 homicide investigations.
Wow.
And one of the fascinating things about him, he was so meticulous in his note-taking that he saved every note from every case, every interview, every crime scene he was ever a part of. And what's amazing is he could go back and he could find these notes. I had trouble finding my checkbook, but Lou was just extraordinarily well organized and meticulous. And on this case, the Jon Benet Ramsey investigation, he was brought in by the Boulder District Attorney, Alex Hunter, 3 months after the murder happened. And within a week, I talked to Lou, and he always called me Johnny. And he was one of the few people besides my mom that called me Johnny. But he said, Johnny, there's something wrong with this case. He says, I don't understand that the information that the Boulder police are putting out or not, it's not accurate. And he said, the references to there being no forced entry says that's not correct. And he had access not only to the crime scene and autopsy photos and the crime scene reports. And he also had access to the Ramsey family, which is really unique because there's a lot of critics, who say, oh, I think it's the dad or I think it's the mom. But did they actually ever meet them? Did they ever sit down and talk to them? And if so, did they have the training and the experience like Lou as a competent interrogator to be able to really weigh the credibility of their statements? And what Lou was so good at was being able to take the evidence from the crime scene and then through statements with victims or witnesses or suspects, able to match that suspect to the scene and the scene to the victim and the victim to the evidence. It's a trilogy that many people are familiar with. It's called the transfer theory or Lockhart's theory of transfer. But this interchange between this triad between the suspect, the victim, and the crime scene, the more connections that you can make, the tighter your case becomes. And that's where Lou was just really extraordinary, was he would, lock that suspect into a statement or a witness, and then he would compare the physical evidence with those people. And one of the things I remember him saying about interviews and interrogations was they're never just one event. Mm-hmm. It's a series of events. And I know that he met with the Ramsey family many times, Patsy and John Ramsey. I'd only met Patsy once, and that was through Lou. She passed away, unfortunately, about 4 years after Jon Benet was murdered.
Yeah.
But I've met with her father many times, John Ramsey, and her older brother, John Andrew. I've got to meet him many times as well. Our Smit family team has tried to stay in close contact with the Ramsey family, as Lou did while he was alive. He passed away in 2010. But he always emphasized, as do we, our Smit family team, that we don't work for the Ramseys. We're really volunteers. We don't get paid other than reimbursement, for travel expenses. But what Lou always said is he works for Jon Benet. Yeah. And that's what our Smit family team likes to think, is that we're not working for the police department, the DA's office. The Smit family is really working for Jon Benet.
And really, John, you and your team have taken up the cause for Jon Benet since Lou's passed away. And it's sad that we've had to do that, but Lou had no confidence that the Boulder police would ever be able to solve this case on their own. And when he passed away in 2010, he had been diagnosed with cancer and he had undergone an operation. And unfortunately, they realized halfway into the surgery that it was inoperable. So he was able to be released from the hospital, and he went home for a short time and then went back into the hospital and was in hospice towards the end. And that's, what sometimes people refer to it as a long, slow goodbye. And those of us who had loved ones in hospice, it's really bittersweet. It's good that there are people like hospice that can help, families and loved ones, through this really difficult period. But it's just sad that has to have a place for that. But with Lou, he really was ready to go. His wife, Barb, had passed away several years earlier from cancer. And Lou had such a positive outlook on life. He was deeply religious. Mm-hmm. And he would pray at every crime scene. When he arrived there, he would ask God for guidance in solving the case. And when an arrest was made and a case cleared, he always returned to the crime scene. But what a lot of people didn't know is he actually prayed every night for every victim of any of the unsolved cases. And he also carried a photograph, a small wallet-sized photo in his wallet of every unsolved case. Wow. And Jon Benet's photo was in there. So every night, since when he went on to the Boulder Ramsey Task Force, once he joined the
DA's office in Boulder. I know every night he would pray, asking for help and guidance. But when he knew he was, within a few days of passing away, he told many people as his family that he just didn't want this case to die with him. He wanted the case to continue. He wanted someone to pick up where he left off, and that's what our team has tried to do. So for the last 12 or 13 years, we've been through his work, through his list of persons of interest. We have independently been collecting and testing DNA that we use a private lab, and we pay for that independently. But in a lot of ways, this should have been done by the Boulder Police Department. But sadly, they were so fixated on it being a member of the Ramsey family that they were just really not willing to commit much resources looking for what Lou referred to as an intruder. Mm-hmm. And they thought that was not a valid theory. And so there's a lot of persons of interest that could be pursued. And right. And Lou always believed, and at the end did say, this case is going to be solved through the DNA. And
exactly.
And I think that will.
And it definitely will. And you know what? We'll continue with that. We'll get a little bit more into the case here in the second half of the program. I want to rewind a little bit with you here, Jon, and find out a little bit about your history and then how you met Lou eventually, and then get to where we're at with this point where you and Lou get together on the Jon Benet case. Let's rewind and talk a little bit about your history in law enforcement, because it is quite colorful as well. Let's not skip over your history at all as well there, Mr. Anderson.
Well, I had a wonderful career in law enforcement, and I grew up with my heroes, my uncles, and people in law enforcement. My mother was the first Meter patrol woman in the state of Colorado. She worked for the Colorado Springs Police Department and drove a three-wheel Harley-Davidson motorcycle as she rode around and wrote parking tickets in the downtown area. And I was still in nursery school then. I was probably about 3 or 3.5 the first time I remember she had dropped me off at nursery school and go to work. But she'd change, put on a uniform, and get her Harley and drive down the street on her three-wheeled Harley. And if I were outside on the playground, I'd stand on I still remember this, on the wrought iron fence railing, and just watch her go by, and she'd wave, and I'd think, that has got to be the coolest job. I mean, I couldn't believe you could get paid for something like that. That'd be so much fun.
Right.
So from a young age, I knew I wanted to be a Colorado Springs police officer. And so I grew up listening to my uncles, especially at Thanksgiving or Christmas. My cousins and I would hide under the grandma's dining room table and listen to the war stories. And I thought, oh, this is just such a cool job. I've got to do this. So by the time I turned 18, I was a senior in high school, and I applied for the police department of Colorado Springs as a police cadet, and was fortunate enough to have been hired. And that's when I first met Lou. I was 18 years old and worked in the identification and records section, which is where they kept the case reports and mugshots and fingerprints and arrest warrants. And the ID bureau was just down the hall from the detective bureau. And whenever a detective would come in, they always got, first class treatment. And and Lou was just such a fascinating guy. And I established a relationship with him almost immediately. He'd take time to explain a case, or if he wanted me to put together a photo lineup or something, he had talked about those cases. And we worked shift work. So in the middle of the night, when all my paperwork was done, I'd read all the old cases, the cold cases, and I'd talk to him about modus operandi and suspects and victims. And I'd read a lot of the supplements that other detectives would turn in. And I'd say, oh, there was a robbery over on the west side of town. And, there was this, blue old car with, the fins on the back. And then, one of the guys you were looking for, was driving a Fleetwood Cadillac or something. And it was blue, dark blue. But so I'd share information with him. And it was just fun to work with him. And when I went on the police department, I really had no interest in being a detective until I met Lou. And I thought, that might be really a cool job, is to be a homicide detective with Lou. So he's the one that kind of inspired me. And I was just fortunate enough then that my dreams seemed to come true if you worked hard enough and were persistent. And so I got to be a detective and then became a homicide detective. And we were partners for about 6 years. And then
now, when you became partners with him, he introduced you to, which I found entirely fascinating, a system of investigating where he used these sheets. That would cut time almost when he went to file a report. And it was, he had a sheet when he went to interrogate a suspect. He had a sheet when he went to do an interview with somebody. He had a sheet when he was going to a scene of a crime, things to look for, and explain a little bit about this system, because over time you kind of helped him tweak this system as well. And it was really interesting, John.
But it was really Lou, and he was so generous with, and he was so original. One of the other detectives that was working with Lou before I became his partner, Dave Spencer, who's mentioned in the book. And Dave and Lou were homicide partners. And whenever when they needed extra help, I and some of the other guys would get called out on it. And most detectives, start with a, yellow or legal size notebook and blank piece of paper. And by then you probably know most of what you need, the person's name, date of birth, height, weight, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But I noticed that Lou and Dave, they had these pre-printed forms and they were filling in the boxes, and it would flow much easier. And I would read their reports, and it was so much more detailed than mine, and everything was in an organized fashion. And finally, I asked Dave. I said, "Well, I looked through the closet. I didn't see where those forms are at. Where can I get those forms?" And he laughed. He says, "Well, ask Smit. He made these up." And I thought, that's incredible. And he probably had 8 or 10 or 12 forms then. And so you're right. If you had a dead body in the trunk of a car, there was a form for the car. There was a separate form for the body, and you'd fill out the blanks, and it kept you from forgetting details. And so after I became Lou's partner, at first they were just really crude and just typewritten notes. But Lou bought one of the very first Macintosh computers, a Mac Plus, and a laser printer. And so we ended up, and I ended up getting one too. And so we could exchange files or whatever and grow these forms. So we ended up with a fairly sophisticated major criminal investigation case packet, which I always called the ALS. Andrew Lou Smit was his initials. So as we continue to evolve the packet and work with prosecutors, they'd say, this would be such a better form if you had this on it and you put this on it. So we were continuous improvement is what I learned later we were doing when I started on my undergraduate and graduate degrees in business. But Lou was really ahead of his time. He loved technology, he embraced technology, he had an associate's degree from DeVry University in electronics. So technology never scared him like it did me. And so the forums were really a part of the Colorado Springs Police Department, the Homicide Investigations Unit, and became adapted throughout the organization as well as in other states. And I still get calls today from, I just had one from the undersheriff in Alamosa, Colorado, and said, "Hey, John, I still got your packet. We still use that here." So it's kind of nice to know that, it's still being used.
And didn't these forms go into a 3-ring binder, and that would make up the case file? So essentially, your case file was a detailed case file, and should it ever become a cold case, you could pull it right off the shelf, pick up where you left off, and essentially it made for a much better success rate if you ever had to open it back up again and dive back into it.
And how Lou would use it, I was so envious of this, but he always would dictate his a supplemental report from his investigative notes. And then he was so organized that the notes that he needed to dictate were in his in basket in the upper left-hand side of his desk. And he would take one sheet at a time. If it was on the crime scene on the car or an interrogation with someone or a witness, and he would dictate that. And then he'd turn it face down on the right-hand side of his desk in the corner. And then he'd take the next one, and then he'd take the next one. And when his typewritten report would come in, he would compare those notes. So the what would go in the 3-ring binders was his typed notes. That was the official police report. But what he did with his notes was once, and so they were in chronological order. And so at the end of the month, he'd have a stack that was sometimes 10 or 12 or 14 inches deep. And he'd carry that over to his locker at headquarters, and he'd put them face down in the locker. And the locker was, I don't know, probably 4, 5, 6 feet tall. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the year, his locker would be full of these notes, and he'd put them in a box. He'd tape that box shut, and he'd write, notes, 1983 or whatever it was. And then he would slide them under his bed, and they'd be there for a couple of years, and he'd put them in the garage, and then in the basement. But to tell the difference of a confession with me, after I got my notes or the typewritten supplement back from the typing pool, and I knew that it was accurate, I would get rid of my notes, partly because my handwriting was so terrible, and my penmanship, I didn't worry about spelling. I would sometimes doodle or something on there, and I didn't want to have to go to court with that. Lou's penmanship was wonderful, and if he ever got called into court, he showed up with this binder of his notes, and he could find, and they were all in order, and it was just extraordinary. Well, he did that for over 200 cases, and it's his family still has those. To give people an idea on the Jon Benet Ramsey case, the depth of his investigation, the police report that he was able to acquire collectively. Now, this was over a period of several years, mm-hmm. but the police report itself was over 100,000 pages. And what he did was he reduced these down to a spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet had 883 entries, rows, in 54 columns. And so there were over 47,000 cells in this massive spreadsheet. Now, not every cell was filled, but most were. And so you could do a search for Tim or Dennis, and it would go pop, pop. It would take you instantly within a split second where on that spreadsheet it was. And so when I looked up Tim Dennis, there would be a little like a little icon in the corner of your name, mm-hmm. and you'd click on that, and a little caption would open to the side, and it said, a podcast host, for your show, and then if it read across. And so you could see, were you interviewed? Was your handwriting collected? Were there, DNA? Was there a comparison? Were you eliminated as a suspect? And you could have, notes off to the side. And he had this spreadsheet in 4 tiers. He prioritized that spreadsheet. But he also had this PowerPoint presentation that I wanted to mention. And you'll see in the book, for those of you that have read the book, like Tim has, in the middle of the book are 36 of Lou's slides. And then on the website, and Tim's going to have a link on his website to the Wild Blue Press, my publisher's website. Mm-hmm. So there's another 20 of Lou's slides there from the crime scene. So that's a total of 56 slides. So it gives you a pretty good understanding of the crime scene. It shows, for example, how Lou always pointed out that on the south side of the house, there was no snow, because in Colorado, the southern facing side of the house is warmer, mm-hmm. and the snow melts there more quickly. So when the information that went out from the tabloids or whatever, that there was no footprints in the snow, well, that's true, maybe, except on the south side of the house where there was no snow. And so Lou built this slide presentation over many years. And some of the slides were sure he showed to the Boulder grand jury. We don't know which ones, but as he would evolve the evidence, such as the stun gun, and hopefully, Tim, after the break, we'll be able to talk a little bit about some of the physical evidence. But the stun gun was really an important part of the evidence that was missed by the Boulder Police Department. And when Lou tried to make them aware that, this really does support this intruder theory, because the Ramseys didn't own a stun gun. There wasn't one found in the house, so that had to have been introduced into the crime scene by the suspect.
Yeah. I tell you what, that's a great place to stop. When we come back, we'll talk about the specifics of the Jon Benet Ramsey case, why the Boulder Police Department had it wrong and kept getting it wrong throughout the years, and why did they keep coming back to Jon and Patsy Ramsey? It was maddening, and why it frustrated Lou Smit so badly. Because Lou found, he found the absolute key piece of evidence the entire time. We'll talk about that key piece of evidence, and it holds up to this day, and why prosecutors kept saying no, and kept dismissing it. We'll talk about all that when we come back. The book is Lou and Jon Benet, a legendary lawman's quest to solve a child beauty queen's murder. John Wesley Anderson is our guest and the author of that book. We have a link in the description of this program. It's put out by Wild Blue Press, and we encourage you to get this book. I tell you, folks, it is an incredibly interesting book, and it brings up all the evidence in this case. Once you read it, you'll find out that the residents of Boulder were never safe. They were never safe in their homes like they were told they were safe in their homes after this happened. And there is all the evidence there in this true tragedy. And it absolutely just not only raises the hair on your arms when you read this, but it's just heartbreaking when you read this book, that what happened with this and why it has gone unsolved for so long. When we come back, more about Lou and Jon Benet, and we will talk about how Lou put so many pieces together and how it went just ignored for so long, and how frustrating it really became. When we come back, more about Lou and Jon Benet here on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Our guest is John Wesley Anderson. The book is Lou and Jon Benet, a legendary lawman's quest to solve a child beauty queen's murder. We're talking about Lou Smit, who was brought into the Jon Benet Ramsey case to take a look, be an investigator on the behalf of, was it the Boulder County District Attorney's
Correct.
office?
It was the Boulder DA's office who had put together a task force and needed investigative help. And Lou was one of the two investigators brought in to be a part of the task force.
And when he came in at the time, as we've pointed out already, and as you put it so eloquently, John, he was brought in not on behalf of Jon and Patsy. He was not he was not brought in on their behalf. He was brought in basically to figure out who it was that basically killed Jon Benet. He was not, but that's not the way it happened. He got the idea right away here, John, that he was on, I'll just call it as it is. I'm not going to mince words here. He was on a witch hunt. He was on a targeted hunt to nail down the Ramseys. That's fairly accurate to say, wasn't it?
I think it was fairly accurate when he first went there. I think he, like most people, had information only from media sources and thought, with no forced entry, no footprints in the snow, it must be a member of the family, probably one of the parents. So it's just a matter of figuring out one. And I think he went in there with the understanding that, this isn't going to be a long, drawn out, investigation. And when he first met with the district attorney, Alex Hunter, I think it was just a matter of saying, well, it's just like most people believed, is where is the evidence going to lead you? But really within the first week, he realized, that what the information that was released by the Boulder Police Department was not accurate. And there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation. And that was really tragic. And a good example of the disinformation was on 4 days after the murder, on December 30th, 1996. Boulder police hold a press conference, and the room is full of reporters from all over the country, maybe even some from around the world, I don't know. But the Boulder public information officer made the statement that that they have collected blood from different people, to include some of the Ramsey family. But she makes the statement 4 days after the murder that the Boulder police did not have blood samples from Patsy Ramsey, and that was false. And when she says that, this public information officer ad-libs and says something to the effect that, well, maybe she was just too distraught to provide us a blood sample. But on that same day, and this is verifiable from a lab report that I've made available, and it's in the book, that on that same date, December 30th, 1996, the Colorado Bureau investigation was being forwarded evidence from the crime scene that included blood samples from John Ramsey, Patsy Ramsey, Burke Ramsey, John Andrew Ramsey, the older brother, as well as several other family members and friends that have been in the home. So the Boulder police, on the same day that public information officer is making that statement, had in their possession her blood. Now, I was a public information officer, PIO of the Colorado Springs Police Department. Mm-hmm. And what we would never allow to happen was false information to be given out to the media to go to the public. That's just inherently wrong. If you did make a mistake and you made a statement that wasn't accurate, you immediately, if not that same day, then the very following day, you did a retraction, you did a correction, and you say, we made a mistake, and we did have blood. That has never been acknowledged by the Boulder Police Department, that they had blood from Patsy Ramsey all along. And what that led was more suspicion that the Ramseys are not cooperating. They must be hiding something. And that couldn't be further from the truth. They went out of their way to be interviewed many times. And as the frustrations between the district attorney's office, the police department, the Ramseys, when that continued to evolve, it was like a brick wall went up, and everybody was adding a new brick. And the Ramsey family were trying to just get the information out to cooperate, so that that the Boulder police would shift their attention from the family, to catching the real killer. And it just seemed like the more the Ramseys tried to do to cooperate, the more resistance they got. Same way with Lou. When he tried to show them the evidence that led him to conclude that there had to be an intruder that came into the home, and he pointed out on that same lab report that was filled out on 12/30/96, that 2 weeks later went back to the Boulder police on January 15th, 97. The lab report said that the biological samples that were submitted were not a match to what was found on what becomes the DNA of an unknown male that was underneath Jon Benet's fingernails, but also on her underwear. Now, in 2008, the long johns she was wearing were also tested using trace DNA, a touch DNA, a better testing method. And there was another sample that was collected from the long johns that she had been wearing. Now, that also matched what was underneath the same male contributor, that the DNA sample matched from the long johns, the underwear, and the fingernails. excluded the Ramsey family, and that DNA has never been identified, but it is male, so it eliminates all the females. It eliminated everybody in the Ramsey family, but that remains today the strongest piece of evidence. And as Lou believed up to his last days, if we can get that that unknown male identified, then that will lead to the killer.
Now, we should walk people through what Lou believes happened the day that JonBenet Ramsey, or the night that JonBenet Ramsey was killed. Because in order for this to make sense, the people who are listening now who haven't read the book, they may say, well, how did this all happen then? Because the common story is that, or the story that everyone believes from the media is that there was some sort of bedwetting incident with JonBenet, that it was either, I think it was Patsy is what they're saying, overreacted. They killed her upstairs and brought her downstairs.
Yeah, and that is one of the theories that some of the Boulder detectives espoused, which was completely nonsensical. Mm-hmm. When you look at the violence that this little girl went through, this wasn't staging. This wasn't an accidental death. This was a brutal sexual assault. And this little girl fought for her life. The garrote that was around her throat, and Lou pointed out how above the ligature, the garrote, you could see small crescent-shaped red marks, which were JonBenet's fingernails gouging into her own flesh, trying to pull the garrote away so that she could breathe. So that wasn't put on there after she had died, because for the blood to be in the underlying tissue, you have to have a beating heart. The other multiple evidence, one of the pieces of evidence that was documented by the Boulder police at the autopsy was evidence of petechial hemorrhaging that occurred on the eyelids and also other places. But petechial hemorrhaging has to have a beating heart as well. And so clearly the autopsy showed, the autopsy was the very next day, was the day after the murder. And it clearly showed that she was alive at the time that the garrote was placed around her throat. And then she was also struck over her head with a severe blow that left an 8-inch depressed skull fracture. Mm-hmm. Lou had found a medical expert who said that would be equivalent to falling on your head from a 3-story building. Well, that wasn't somebody who, in a fit of rage, like one of the detectives alleged, that, Patsy maybe, hit JonBenet's head against the bathtub or something. That was just crazy. So the evidence of sexual assault is violent. I struggle with that in the book of how much to put in there, but I wanted people to know, that this wasn't just, a cover-up. This was a very vicious, violent assault. The knots that were used to tie around her wrists, that wasn't just, to truss her up to make her look like, she was bound up. Those were carefully constructed slip knots using parachute cord, paracord 550. Yeah. There was no parachute cord in the Ramseys' home. They didn't even know what it was. They'd never bought parachute cord. There was also black duct tape, a 6-inch strip of black duct tape that had been placed over JonBenet's mouth. And when the father found the body 7 hours after the police first arrived, one of the first things he did, like any parent would do, is he ripped the tape off of her mouth. But that duct tape was really unusual since it was black. There was no other black duct tape anywhere in the house. The Ramseys had never owned a roll of black duct tape. The police could not find a roll of black duct tape in the house, but it was not cut on both ends that were taped over her mouth. They were torn. And so what Lou said is, if we can catch the killer and he's still got the roll of tape, which now 26 years later is pretty much a possibility. Yeah. But he said the way it was torn, just like carrying a sheet of paper, you could mat those two ends. And on the opposite end, that would have been torn off first from the duct tape. There had to have been another piece of tape somewhere, either used in the house for something. That was never found. So what Lou absolutely was spot on is that this killer brought with him the stun gun, the parachute cord to tie her up, the masking tape. And what he was pointing out was these are items of a kidnapping kit. This is what the killer brought into the home. This is what he took with him when he left. And he insisted that this note had to have been written by the killer probably before Jon Benet died. It was a very peculiar note, as many of the listeners will remember. It was 2.5 pages long and a rambling a ransom note for an odd amount of money. $118,000 was the ransom demand amount. But what a lot of people don't know, and some speculate, Patsy wrote the note. Some of the Boulder police think she wrote the note. But what a lot of people don't know, and I'm not even sure Boulder police, understand this, that Patsy and John both took polygraph tests by one of the leading polygraph operators in the nation, Dr. Cleed. And when he administered those tests independently, he asked, do you know who murdered Jon Benet? Both said no. Both passed those tests. The one question, the additional question that Patsy answered truthfully and got a positive affirmative response that she was telling the truth was, did you write the ransom note? And she said no. And the polygraph operator also passed her on that test. And what some people didn't realize, and again, maybe with the Boulder police, they didn't realize this, there was at least 6 forensic experts that Lou could identify that had looked at that question document, the ransom note, and some said, well, we can't rule her out, or maybe she did, or maybe she didn't. But there was one expert that Lou found who was a very seasoned forensic examiner who with the U.S. Secret Service, and he said, absolutely not. There's no evidence at all to suggest that Patsy wrote that note. So the ransom note is a huge piece of physical evidence that supports the kidnap for ransom. It's as clear as you can get. And with the evidence that was brought into the home, that was introduced into the crime scene, and that was taken out, is absolutely critical in proving what Lou believed beyond any reasonable doubt at all, that there was an intruder involved, and the DNA evidence is solid.
And if you think there was a money motive to any of this, there were tabloids that were they were offering $1 million if the Ramseys would have took this polygraph test before 1997 was over. They even took it after the deadline. They weren't concerned about money. They were just concerned. They really weren't. They were concerned about getting it right.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. And that's what really Lou wanted. He wanted the truth to come out. And so thankfully, the book was a collective effort. My name's on the cover, but the Smit family, they were behind it all the way. The Ramsey family have been very supportive of the book. And in fact, on the cover, you'll see a photograph of Jon Benet. And that photograph was taken on her first day of kindergarten by her mother, Patsy. And tragically, Jon Benet doesn't finish kindergarten. And within 4 years, Patsy's gone. But you can tell from the photograph that this child was loved. She's dressed in a cute little white and pink dress, and she's got her little pink backpack, and her little dog Jock is there, and there's this plastic apple that had something in their treats or something for the kids. But Patsy on the first day of kindergarten says, "Wait a minute, let me get your picture." And so on the book cover, I was using a different photo of Jon Benet that was in Lou's case file. And I sent the mock-up of the book cover, and I wanted this photo of Lou. This is him on the first day at the sheriff's office when he came to work for me, January 10th of 95. And he started that day with his team of detectives on an unsolved cold case of a 13-year-old girl in El Paso County by the name of Heather Dawn Church. And so within 11 weeks of him starting on that investigation with essentially the same evidence that was there for the last 4 years, that the other detectives that weren't able to get anywhere, they had the killer in custody in that case. So Lou had successfully investigated and arrested kidnapped killers before in his career. And so that photo was very important for me to have that on there. And when I had the mock-up, the artist a mock-up of the cover, I sent that to Jon Benet's father and asked him, well, I think this looks pretty good. What do you think? He says, well, it looks nice, but he said there's another photo that I liked better of Jon Benet, and I'm just honored that he allowed us to use that photo of Jon Benet on the cover.
You know, I'm going to bring up an interesting memory to you, John. Do you remember when the initial media coverage was out? They always used that, and forgive me for using this phrase, they always used the tarted up photo of Jon Benet from the beauty pageant.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they always...
there were several of those photos, and there were people that were, very critical of John and Patsy, the parents, for, allowing their child to be, dressed up in, these clothing. And what a lot of people didn't realize is this was something that the parents didn't force her to do this. This is something she loved to do. She really enjoyed the pageantry. She loved the performance. She loved getting in front of the crowd. She loved sharing that with her mother. And Patsy had been a Miss America contestant, and so she had grown up with that. And what Jon Benet's father, John Ramsey, told me later, we were having a quiet dinner one evening, and he said, I think Patsy, the reason why she did this, the pageantry, was, her cancer was in remission, but, it could come back anytime, and it did. And he said, I think Patsy just realized this may not be something that she'll get to enjoy with Jon Benet when she's older, in high school or college.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to miss out on that. And, who can deprive a mother of that? That's something that, that she and her daughter enjoyed together. And for people to criticize, how someone else chooses to raise their parents, that's sad. But if you're using that for the basis of your prejudice that they're bad parents and therefore were involved in her death, that's just really tragic if that's the way people think.
Because between you and I and the listening audience, I have a niece who is so outgoing, and she loves entertaining. She loves singing for people. She's,
right.
she and she's such an entertainer, and she's that age right now. She's maybe a year or two younger, and and she's going to be in a play. She's going to be in a play at the end of April. And I couldn't be more proud. And I can just see somebody dragging her mother through the mud if something tragic were to ever happen to her. I could see that. And it's so easy for people to want to twist things.
It is.
It's so easy to grab something that's so pure and twist it, because it's funny. And this is on topic, but off topic. I was talking to a friend today about a totally different subject, but we were talking about how it's funny how the American public loves to see people rise, but then they want to see them fall so quickly.
Yeah. That's so true.
They love to watch the downfall.
Yeah.
And people, go ahead.
No, you're spot on. And Jon Ramsey's a perfect example. He was a successful businessman, but he didn't start out that way. The business that he developed with Patsy, Access Graphics, they started in their basement, just the two of them. And they grew that business, and it kept expanding, and they put their heart and soul into that business. And to the point that it had just passed that year, 1996, $1 billion in sales.
Wow.
And it got acquired by the Lockheed Martin Corporation. Now, I didn't know Jon Ramsey, and I wasn't involved in that acquisition, but I worked for Lockheed Martin for 10 years. I'm retired from them, and they're a wonderful corporation, and they take their mergers and acquisitions very seriously.
Yeah.
And when they selected Access Graphics, they did a lot of due diligence before they made that acquisition. but it made Jon a wealthy man, but he earned that.
Yeah.
And he really lost it all after this happened. But he earned that by working hard. He employed a lot of people through his business, and they didn't start off, living the way that they ended up. But
sure,
he would have traded it all, just for one more day, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Jon Benet.
I'm sure. Jon Benet wasn't the only child that they lost either, was she?
You're so right. Yeah, but tragically, there was another daughter who was killed in an automobile accident, and so Jon Ramsey had lost two daughters, and really sad.
That is sad. Very sad indeed. So I'm going to bring up a point here that I think some people who live on the side of history that they believe the Ramseys had something to do with Jon Benet's death are going to shirk at, and that's this. When you look at some of the evidence in this book, it points out to right away from the start of this case, Jon, from the word go and everything that Lou has found, and this is not with a slant on anything, from the minute the first patrolman who walks into the Ramsey home, he kind of bumbles it because they walk around the house looking for over the investigation scene, looking for any type of clue as to what might have happened, and searching for Jon Benet. They search the entire house, but they don't go downstairs.
Yeah, well, they actually went downstairs, and the first responding officer who answered the 911 call, which was a kidnapping, and when he first was met at the front door by the Ramseys, he was handed the ransom note, and he looked at it and then handed it back. So rather than preserving it for fingerprints or, in fairness, 26 years ago, the first thing on your mind might not have been DNA,
right,
but certainly fingerprints would have been. But that note was handed back, and then it was later passed around to people and friends who showed up, other detectives, crime scene people looked at it. That should have been preserved. But the first officer did search the house, and he did go into the basement, and he does later admit that he walked up to the door where Jon Benet's body was on the other side of the door, and what the Ramseys called a wine cellar in the basement. There wasn't any wine in it. That's just what they referred to the room as. But he looked at the door, and there was a little wooden latch at the top that was down, and he thought, oh, there's nobody in there. And so he doesn't bother to open the door. Had he just done that, none of this would have happened. She would have been found right then. Unfortunately, she was already passed on, but there wouldn't have been any, or at least as much speculation. But it wasn't just this officer. There were other police officers who also arrived. A patrol sergeant arrived. The detectives arrived. And the crime scene investigators, they arrived, and they photographed that basement. But they didn't even open the door that led into the small room where she was at. And to me, that's just unfathomable. I worked, I don't know how many, dozens and dozens or hundreds of crime scenes, but you searched the whole house. You didn't search part of the house. And part of it, just from an officer safety perspective, is you didn't know if there was a bad guy hiding in there. You never turn your back on a possible, suspect who might be, in a closet door or something. But when you're looking for a lost child, a 6-year-old girl, you look wherever that little 6-year-old could be. You look under the bed, you look in the closet, you look in the clothes hamper, you look in every room, you look in the garage, you look in the back seat of the car. Maybe they're hurt, maybe they're scared, maybe they're hiding.
Yeah.
And when you're looking for a kidnapped little girl, you ought to look where they might be. And had they looked in that room, then things may have been entirely different.
And it wasn't the police that found Jon Benet. It was her father.
You're right. And that's another tragedy. 7 hours after that first officer walked in, crime lab had already left. The sergeants and patrol officers had left. They left one detective, Linda Arndt, there. And there was still some hope that the kidnappers may call the Ramseys at 10 a.m. to make arrangements to exchange the money for Jon Benet. And there was some confusion. The ransom note said, we'll contact you tomorrow at 10. Well, the note's found at about 5:30 in the morning on the 26th. So you don't know, is it 10 a.m. that day of the 26th, or is it tomorrow morning, the morning of the 27th? So when 10 a.m. comes and goes, John Ramsey is hoping that it's the next day, that he'll hear at 10 o'clock the next morning from the killers. So at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Detective Arndt tells John Ramsey to take another man who was in the house and search the house again, go through the entire house, look for anything out of order. And so John Ramsey walks downstairs with this other gentleman, a friend of the family. And when they step into the basement, he points to the open window. And he said, see, that window is the window that I used to get in when I locked myself out of the house last summer. Said I broke the upper pane of that window. You could reach in and unlock the window, and then you could crawl in through the window well. And he also pointed to this large blue suitcase that's propped up against the wall. And he said, that suitcase wasn't there. That's not what we left there. And what Lou later theorized was that the suspect had propped that suitcase there to step on it to get out of the window well, because it was a little higher up. And there's a black scuff mark below the window well too. Lou also wondered if JonBenet, when she was alive, wasn't placed into this large suitcase, and perhaps the suspects trying to get her out of the home by having her in the suitcase and getting that up through the window well. But something obviously went wrong. He wasn't able to do that, and that's when he changed plans and the sexual assault murder occurs.
Yeah. And an interesting note here, Linda Arndt, when in his grief, John Ramsey scoops up his little girl, rips the tape off her lips, runs her upstairs, disturbing the crime scene downstairs, brings her upstairs. And as Linda Arndt sees him charging with JonBenet in his arms, assumes what? She
claims this several times, different places, that when he lays JonBenet's body on the carpet beneath the Christmas tree, she's on one side of JonBenet, he's kneeling on the other, and Linda Arndt, Detective Arndt, says she looks into the eyes of John Ramsey and knew that she was looking in the eyes of the killer. And her comment was she began counting the bullets in her gun because she was afraid that John Ramsey was going to kill her and everybody else in the house. And I don't know how you can think that. I guess that she was just in a state of shock. And I know in talking to John Ramsey about that comment, he said, I went from, hoping that JonBenet was alive, being a businessman. I've got the money together. I'm trying to remain calm so that, if I get this call, that I'll be able to think clearly, where do I take the money to get JonBenet? And he said, so I go from trying to remain calm to finding her and hoping that, if he gets her upstairs, that the police can do something. And he says that, for anybody to be able to look a person in the eyes and say, well, I was looking in the eyes of a killer, is just, how can you explain that kind of a reaction? And John does say, I probably went through every emotion you can imagine, just grief and horror and, anger. And to, for that to have stayed with that detective, I think she must have just been in a state of shock. Who knows? I don't know.
You know what it sounds like to me, John? I'm not going to mince words on this one either. It sounds to me like a cop covering her ass to save her job.
Yeah, that very well could be.
It sounds like to me absolute panic by a police officer who realizes they spent way too much time and missed something.
They all did. And maybe that's part of what's gone on. Boulder police is still trying to, make excuses or save face or something. But, there's been multiple generations of police chiefs. And, we've tried to meet with this chief that's there now, this Chief Harold. She wouldn't even return my phone calls. We met, our team did get to meet twice. once with the district attorney, and there were two detectives from Boulder that came to the first meeting at the DA's office. And then we were able to schedule a second meeting with the detective commander, Tom Trujillo, that was in charge of the investigation until the first part of December of last year, when he was removed from the investigations division, put on patrol midnights, and given 3-day suspension for not investigating or not fully investigating their caseload. He and 4 other detectives were disciplined. And that's what Lou ran into, is that the Boulder police would not thoroughly investigate the case, and he kept trying to give them leads. Our Smit family team tried to give them leads that could be followed. Lou, he had this spreadsheet with his top tier of persons of interest, and our team developed through Lou's spreadsheet what we came up with, our top 20 persons of interest. Now, we've eliminated privately over a dozen people off that list, and every time we remove somebody through independent DNA testing, we take another person off the Lou's spreadsheet and move them up. So we still have our top 20, and we've given that list as well as the people we had eliminated to the Boulder police, and said, we can go through each one of these names and show you where Lou had developed this person of interest, and their DNA really needs to be collected and tested. And Boulder just seems completely uninterested in pursuing any viable suspects. And it's really, really tragic. We hope that the governor or Colorado Bureau of Investigation or somebody, will step forward and assist them. But it's sad that this has gone on so long. If nothing else, what I hope the book does, Tim, is that it gets across with beyond any reasonable doubt that no member of the Ramsey family was involved in this murder of Jon Benet. And if nothing else, I think that accomplishes something, because for the last 26 years, this family's had to live with what the police referred to as an umbrella of suspicion. Well, that's no way for any grieving family or loved ones to have to go through their life. So hopefully the book will help with most people, show that there's beyond any reasonable doubt Lou had eliminated every member of the Ramsey family. But secondarily is that this case is still solvable. Even if the DNA is not perfect, we do think that there is sufficient DNA genetic markers that it is, we're told in the CODIS, the Combined DNA Information System. And if it's intact and it's run against the people who are in prison or going on parole or get arrested, there's a chance that DNA might match up with someone. But, there's breakthroughs that are happening every year on cold cases all over the country. And what detectives are doing is they're going back and retesting evidence that was tested before, under old standards. Mm-hmm. But the technology continues to improve and testing smaller, minute traces of DNA. And then if we can somehow get someone interested in using ancestral databases like they did with the Golden State Killer, this case is still solvable. And our team really does believe that there's never been a better time, to solve the case than it is today.
Do you suppose it's because Boulder police just don't want to get another black eye, that this is potentially a PR killer for them?
That could potentially be an issue. I know I've heard other people who say there's some potential civil liability, that with the way they've referred to the family, and I suppose there's always that risk. But I really don't think that is in the mind of the father, Jon Ramsey. I think he just wants this solved, and I hope that it's solved while he's still here. He's not getting any younger. He's in his 70s now, and still very, very on top of things mentally and physically. But every year I think it gets harder and harder.
Do you really think it's in Jon Ramsey's heart, or even in the Ramsey family's heart, to say at this point, they'd take civil action if the real killer were found?
Yeah, I really don't think that's a priority, even in their conscience at all. I think they just want the killer found, and I don't think seeking vengeance against the police department for a failed investigation is a priority at all. I don't think he's a vindictive person, but I do know that he is a very, like so many of us, is impatient with their incompetence. And that's what's really inexcusable, because as John Ramsey points out a couple of times, the FBI, they were used to put a trace on the phone, but they were never allowed into the crime scene. And the FBI has got some extraordinary resources that, had they been brought into the scene, I can't imagine an FBI agent not searching the whole house. But I think they could have helped advance the case from the very beginning. But there were two experienced homicide detectives from the Denver Police Department that were offered to the Boulder Police Department for free. Denver said, we'll continue paying their paycheck. They just go to work for you. They'll help, support, use their experience. And Boulder PD said, no, we got this covered. Thank you. And that's what John Ramsey said is inexcusable. He said, I can forgive them for not being experienced. It's a small college town, and you don't get a lot of. Fortunately, you don't get a lot of violent crimes in a small college town. But he said, what I can't excuse is their arrogance for refusing to accept the help that was offered. And I know some of these homicide detectives out of the Denver Police Department, and there are some extraordinarily skilled detectives there. And I'm sure, I don't know the names of the detectives that were offered, but I do know that I've never met a homicide detective in Denver that wasn't highly capable. And I'm sure they were offered two of their best detectives. And for them to say, no, we got this covered. And 26 years later, they're still, just not willing to accept, any help. We've tried to meet with them a couple of times, and they won't even return phone calls or emails anymore. It's just unimaginable.
Well, to wrap it up in a nice bow, John, you can't cover incompetence by bringing in highly skilled people. It just doesn't happen. You can't continue to cover something up when you bring in the light.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen that way. One last question for you. Let's say you find the actual killer on your own and without help from Denver police or the FBI. How do you posthumously? How do you celebrate with Lou?
Oh, what a great ending question. Yeah, I think Lou will be there. I think he'll know.
Because in the book, you kind of allude to the fact that he could somehow give you the answer, or give you the the DNA would give you the answer. How do you kind of give him the acknowledgement that you got him?
Yeah. We keep our eyes open. It wasn't just Lou, but we also lost another partner, Dave Spencer, and the book's dedicated to Lou and Dave, and that was another blow to our team. Dave really put his heart and soul into trying to solve this too. But I think someday we'll know the answer to this.
Yeah, I believe you will. I want you to. We're gonna, on the description of this program, we're gonna have a way that you can help John and his team, because this is of importance. This isn't just a cold case that's going to run cold, folks. We want this to be solved. Dave, let people know you do have a GoFundMe out there to help with expenses, because of course this doesn't, it isn't just free work out there. There's ways to help cover DNA costs and travel expenses and things like that in order to try and help catch some of these people out there that are you need DNA samples and whatnot. And you need to get this investigative work done. So we'll put up that link, and there are ways to help. So can you let people know how they can help?
Well, besides thinking about contributing to the DNA, and again, to emphasize that none of us on the team get paid, the only thing that funding is used for is for DNA testing or travel. If we have to travel somewhere, we get reimbursed for those expenses, but we're not none of us are paid. We're all volunteers. But the other thing that people can do is to write a review on the book. And the reason why that's important, Tim, is the more reviews that we get on Amazon, the more exposure that the book will get. And what we're trying to do is get over 50 reviews now on Amazon for the book, and that will put us in a higher category. And then once that happens, then the book can get more visibility and more exposure. So the movement right now, and this is why I so thank you for having us on the show, is to tell the story of Lou and Jon Benet. If you tell 10 people about the book, about the case, that starts this movement, and that's really what this is about. Our team operated for about 8 or 9 years, kind of in the shadows, and didn't tell anybody what we were doing. We were just surreptitiously trying to, get the DNA and get it tested. And we realized that, we were coming up on an anniversary date, and we hadn't identified the killer nor had the Boulder police. So the Smit family courageously said, "We're going to come out. We're going to let people know what we're doing." And then they started the GoFundMe page. Now that took a lot of courage, to step out and do that. But they knew that that's what their dad would want. And it's really allowed us to mobilize people. And I know I took some criticism when I wrote the book because it is an active investigation. Yeah. And I am talking about evidence that belongs to another police agency. And so people can rightly criticize me. And I released a very condemning 2-page lab report on the DNA that showed that DNA that was known within 3 weeks of the murder did not match into the Ramsey family. But that was information, Tim, that was not being told. And I really struggled with, if you continue, with this facade that, everything's fine in Boulder, then you become part of that cone of silence or however it's described. And so, we really gave this a lot of thought, and the book is really kind of a siren call of, something's wrong in that investigation, and it can be righted, and there needs to be some accountability, but there is hope. And every year the DNA continues to, technology is better, the public-private databases continue to grow exponentially, and this case can be solved.
One of the kickers, I hope I'm not giving away too much here. If I am, you stop me here, John. One of the kickers that absolutely killed me is when the DA is assembling a grand jury. Lou wants to go in front of this grand jury. Yeah. And present his evidence. And there's the evidence there, the DNA evidence. It wasn't even given to the Ramseys that they were they were innocent.
And,
that
it wasn't DNA given to the Boulder DA for 7 months.
Yeah.
Lou was still at the DA's office when that lab report came in. It says, "Holy cow, this is from January. It's now July." Yeah. And that lab report had been purposely withheld. That wasn't just an accident. Oh yeah, here we finally got around. No, somebody sat on that within the police department, investigations division, and Lou said, "Well, how come this didn't get leaked? They leaked everything else, Yep. Well, it didn't fit the belief. Oh, the Ramseys did it, and
doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah, it's really sad. So hopefully the book will accomplish some good and get people motivated and let's go get this case solved.
Absolutely. The name of the book, Lou and Jon Benet, A Legendary Lawman's Quest to Solve a Child Beauty Queen's Murder. John Wesley Anderson is our guest and the author. John, I want to thank you so much for being with us here today on True Crime Tuesday.
Dan, it's been a real privilege to be with you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Folks, we're going to lighten it up a little bit now. It's time for us to bring in Beer City Bruiser, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time again here on True Crime Tuesday. It's time for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals, and we need a co-host. We bring in the co-host with the most, Beer City Bruiser. Bruiser, how you doing?
Oh, I'm tired, Cruiser. I'm tired.
Are you?
I wrestled last night and got home late, and now we're recording. But you know what? I wrestled in heaven. I was in a brewery.
Oh, look at you. Aha. That's perfect.
A wrestling ring in a brewery. I didn't know heaven was perfect, but it is.
But it is. But it is.
And I saw probably something that you only can see at a wrestling event. I saw two handless people nub bump each other.
Nub bumping?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a song in the 90s?
I think so, but I was at my merch table, talking to fans, and a gentleman had come up and he had lost his hand.
Okay.
And he had cerebral palsy, so he had his arm was the way it is, and I said, well, thanks for coming, and you know what, he bought a picture and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then a girl came up and she goes, "Oh, you're a nubby too." And I looked at her like, wow, that's kind of offensive. You can't just say that to somebody.
You're a nubby too. Okay.
And he goes, "What?" And she goes, "Me too." And she pulls her left arm out of her pocket, and sure enough, there's no hand. And I'm okay. And they it was like the seas had parted. They'd found each other. And they're like, "Let's nub bump." And they're doing it in front of us, and they're hugging, and they go off in the brewery, and that's it. I didn't see him again. And a guy that was selling merch next to me looked over at me and goes, "What the hell was that?" I go, "I have no idea. Only in professional wrestling can you see a nub bump."
Did a spotlight fall from heaven as they bumped nubs, or
it was like the gates of heaven opened up for these two, and that I'm pretty sure they're best friends now.
Wow. Wow. Only at a pro wrestling match.
Yeah, I was sitting there, and I'm hoping the photographer got a picture, because she was taking pictures of people in the line and stuff. And she had taken a picture, and I hope to God she's got mine and the guy who was standing next to me's faces, because we were just mouth agape, like, what is going on right now?
kind of one of those "this cannot be happening" moments. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a moment.
Wow. Hey, that's a red letter day right there, buddy.
Yeah, like I said, I love my job. I couldn't wait to come on today and let all our listeners know that this happens.
That's incredible. I used to love the show. Now I love the phrase. That's just incredible. Well, plenty of stuff for Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals today. We'll talk about why you shouldn't fight so hard for a parking spot in New York City. We'll talk about an Arkansas man who thinks he's Daryl Dixon. We'll talk about a New York carjacking suspect who decided he couldn't drive so well. Of course, we've got a Florida story in there. And we're going to end the day on a not safe for work note.
Of course.
why you can't necessarily sue when you put that ass out on the internet. And why you can't sue for billions. I'll tell you why.
Gotcha.
That'll be at the end of Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals today. We'll first start out with New York City and why you shouldn't fight so hard for a parking spot in New York City.
Oh, parking's a nightmare in New York.
Oh, isn't it ever? My Uncle Bunky used to have a car in New York, and he was quite brilliant at finding parking spots.
Really?
Yeah, but the thing about Bunky was he would just kind of get in, get out, and he wouldn't fight for a parking spot. He's like, there's another one. There's another one. We'll get another one. Right?
Very optimistic, huh?
Very optimistic.
Okay.
And he had good, what he would call good parking juju.
Because he was optimistic. That's why he was putting positive out and getting positive back.
That's right. Now, when it comes to, there's always the parking thing with Seinfeld. If you remember, there was the episodes with George where, remember the parking spot at the hospital, and then the jumper fell on his car, and then he tried to, recoup the cost of the car from the hospital.
Yep.
Didn't
And
work
then
so
there's-
well.
Then there's the one where they both pull in when they're going to Jerry's to watch the fight.
Yep.
And they sit there and just argue with each other and miss the fight. Yep.
Right. That's kind of what this story is like. A brutal video shows a man attacked by neighbors over a New York City hospital. Or I'm sorry, New York City hospital. I'm thinking of the hospital. New York City spot. It kind of ended up like the hospital scene. It was brutal. 2 people were caught on video unleashing a brutal road rage attack on a neighbor in Queens after a dispute over a parking spot. 30-year-old Arturo Cuevas and 27-year-old Daisy Barrera could be seen in footage obtained by the New York Post as the pair pummeled the 28-year-old victim with a baseball bat.
Or a parking spot. Come on.
Just before...
They need to be your uncle, take your uncle's point of view and
That's right.
Just be up. There's another one out there.
That's right. There's another one out there. They did that just before 4 p.m. on Friday on 49th Street near 47th Avenue in Sunnyside. Barrera and Cuevas had an ongoing parking dispute with the man and decided to launch their attack when they spotted him in the street, leaving him in critical condition.
Oh, geez.
They beat him good.
Yeah, no parking spots worth a life.
No. The pugnacious duo, I don't normally use that word, but we will now, could be seen striking him with a bat repeatedly. The victim was also stabbed 5 times throughout the body during the broad daylight attack, Bruiser.
So they just figured, hey, the baseball bat's not enough. We got to stick this guy.
Yeah. The 10-second clip begins with the victim already splayed on the ground in the middle of the street with blood splatter next to him. I have a photo to show you here, my friend, in a second.
Okay.
A man is shown kicking him in the back and in the head just before a woman wallops him in the head with the bat.
He's down. You don't need to hit him again.
Right. Oh my God, stop, someone can be heard yelling. 2 other women stand nearby. One other person is only partially seen in the frame. The victim then rolls over onto his stomach, but that doesn't stop the male attacker from getting in his face again, pointing an object at him and striking him with it just before the video cuts off. Man was taken to Elmhurst Hospital Center, where he's listed in critical but stable condition today, Monday, cops said. Barrera and Cuevas, were both arrested and charged with assault, reckless endangerment, and criminal possession of a weapon.
That's when you get out of the hospital and sell your car. It's not worth it. Public transit it is.
That's when the subway and the bus and a car service come in handy. There's a picture for you, Bruce.
Look, there's a sick amount of blood.
Yeah, it's all over the street.
Oh, man.
Yeah, when they stuck him 5 times with a knife, they stuck him 5 times with a knife.
And that's that real rich looking iron-filled blood too.
Yeah, that's not a little razor cut from a shave.
It's like we call it in wrestling. He got hard-weighed.
Yep, he got hard-weighed, my friend.
Because you can tell, like, when we cut ourselves, the blood is different than when we get hard-weighed. When we get hard-weighed, it's real red, like that color, red.
Yeah.
And gooey because you're getting the coagulants and stuff. And it's that poor guy.
Yeah, he got it good. It's my God.
A girl's got horrible form for a baseball bat too, by the way.
Yes.
The guy's got good kick form when he's kicking him in the back of the head. Like that's like, okay, good form. That girl's got terrible form with the baseball bat.
Maybe she's watching the Mets, not the Yankees. Although that'll change this season. The Mets have actually loaded up their payroll, so she might finally learn how to swing. I make jokes I shouldn't. We move on.
Okay.
We go to Philly, which is just as rough as New York.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Parking's atrocious there, too.
It is, but this is different. What's the weirdest place you've ever celebrated your birthday?
Amish country. My grandmother and grandfather took us to my cousin and I on like an East Coast thing for my 10th birthday.
Okay.
And on my actual birthday, we stayed in an Amish country like house, and we lived like an Amish for the whole day. And it was the first time I ever had peanut butter pie.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it because Amish make amazing food.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's when I just formed an obsession of like, I want to know about these Amish people. So I've delved in the Amish community.
So it was like a witness type deal.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know what they were at the time. And then going there and seeing everything and learning their culture and stuff, I'm like, I'm so into this. Like, let's see what else we can find out about them.
Nice. How would you feel about a cemetery birthday celebration?
That would actually be kind of fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I find it odd. I don't.
I mean, it's odd, but like, am I celebrating like on my father-in-law's grave? Like, that'd be good.
No, I don't know.
Hey, Jim, nice to see you.
This was a cemetery birthday celebration gone awry. Police launched an investigation into a fatal shooting at a birthday celebration in a cemetery.
Okay, now it's getting weird. You shouldn't be bringing guns to a party.
Yeah, we go to Norristown, Pennsylvania, where Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin R. Steele and Horsham Police Chief Scott Fida have announced an investigation into a shooting in a cemetery that left 29-year-old Daniel Elijah Hawkins of Philadelphia dead and another man seriously injured. Horsham police were dispatched at 3:04 p.m. to the White Marsh Memorial Park for a call of shots fired. The last place you expect shots to be fired.
I was going to say, did they think it was a joke at first?
I don't know. Police arrived to find Hawkins dead and 33-year-old Arian Davis of Philadelphia seriously injured. Davis was transported to Abington Hospital and is being treated for injuries to his jaw, hand, and leg. Detectives processing the scene found that more than 30 shots had been fired.
Oh, wow.
It was a gunfight. A joint investigation into the death has been launched by Montgomery County detectives and Horsham police. The initial investigation found that a large group of people were at a birthday celebration in the cemetery at the grave of Tyrick Farrell, who was shot and killed in 2013 in Norristown. So yeah, they were celebrating at somebody's birthday at their gravesite.
Yeah, and the way they died was gun related. So why would you bring guns to that, knowing that someone that you're going to celebrate died from a gun wound?
I have a feeling they're all gangbangers.
I have a feeling too. I don't think they're the upstanding citizens like you and I are.
No. Gunfire broke out within the group, killing Hawkins and injuring Davis. They're asking that anyone with information about the murder is asked to, this is what's funny about the article. Anyone with information about the murder is asked to call the Horsham Police Department or call Montgomery County detectives. You can hold your breath for all of eternity, and that doesn't happen, then either one are called.
No one's going to call.
Nope.
And the dead don't speak.
That's right. And snitches get stitches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So I don't.
And you know someone's strapped.
That's right. They all were strapped. There's a little something to tell the Horsham police. They all were strapped. There's a
What kind of bullets did you find? Maybe we can find out who shot it.
That's right. We move on. An Arkansas man thinks he's Daryl Dixon and was arrested for fatally shooting a 66-year-old with a crossbow.
Well, some 66-year-olds look like zombies.
Yeah, that is true.
Not my mother. I just realized my mother's 66. She does not look like a zombie.
No.
She's a beautiful bald woman. I love her.
Yeah. She's
got no teeth.
Oh, yeah. You want to pull that back a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I realize my mom is 66.
Yeah,
so.
Sorry, Mom.
Yep. Love you, Mom.
Yeah, love you, Mom. A man fatally shot an arrow at a 66-year-old guy in an Arkansas apartment, and cops found the victim with the crossbow bolt sticking out of him. Oh,
ow.
Yeah. Little Rock cops say that 56-year-old Jerry Crutcher fired the... You got to see this guy. I'm going to show you a picture of him. Fired the arrow at Charlie Williams last Sunday in the victim's apartment. Nice shot. Police found Williams dead at 4:40 a.m. with the crossbow bolt sticking out of him.
See, Daryl Dixon would have went and pulled the bolt out because he needs it.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's more zombies to shoot.
Exactly.
Police added that during the incident, a second victim was identified with an arrow wound.
Oh, geez. So this guy's just going around with all these low-tech weapons.
Yeah, he's on the hunt for something.
Zombies.
Yeah, Crutcher was taken into custody Friday afternoon and charged with first-degree murder and second-degree battery. He's currently being held at the Pulaski County Jail on a $50,000 cash bond. It wasn't clear what sparked the bloodshed.
Well, probably Walking Dead, doing the finale of Walking Dead.
Yeah, crossbow rage.
Yeah.
Murder by crossbow, by the way, has occurred before in the natural state. In 2020, 42-year-old Clinton Young was arrested for shooting his 46-year-old girlfriend in the stomach with a crossbow bolt in Saline County. And in 2015, 20-year-olds Jonathan Gunther and Brad Hunter Smith were charged with killing Cherish Albright, a 21-year-old pregnant woman, with a crossbow and beating her with a baseball bat in Cleveland County.
Well, the crossbow wasn't enough. They had to add the bat.
Jeez.
Yeah.
A study from Western Michigan University found that there were at least 14 crossbow homicide cases in the U.S. between 2015 and 2019.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You don't hear crossbow deaths too much.
No, but there have been.
They're there. That's a higher number I thought would be.
Yeah, there were 14 of them between 2015 and 2019. While a crossbow bolt can be lethal, people can survive being shot at, including Chinese resident Xiao Peng, who was struck near the heart with an arrow in 2020 and was photographed with it still in his chest. So a crossbow bolt is not necessarily automatic death, if you're wondering.
At least they arrested the guy before he got to the Sunnyside retirement home. He would have been like, there's zombies everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I was going to show you a picture of this.
All these zombies are playing canasta. What is going on?
They're playing canasta. Goddamn canasta.
I'll get him at 4 p.m. Oh, okay.
He looks like he means business, doesn't he?
He's an angry man.
Yes, he is.
That looks like a gangster rap album cover.
It does, doesn't it?
Or like if you're going to put a UFC poster together. Yeah. That's what that looks like.
Don't F with my crossbow.
I'm going to get them zombies.
Yeah, I'm going to get them zombies. A couple of carjacker stories for you now, Bruiser.
Okay.
We're in the carjacker section of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. A carjacker tries to escape cops on a skateboard after ditching his stolen truck.
Now, I can't wait to hear the story because I want to know if he stole the skateboard or if he brought it with him.
Gosh, you're always into the details, aren't you?
Well, I'm thinking, I'm trying to think like a good carjacker is if it's going to end in me on foot pursuit.
Okay.
So if I bring a skateboard with me, I'm going to be a little bit faster than the police.
See, I think you're thinking ahead. I think you'd be way too prepared as a criminal.
I'm way too prepared as a criminal because I think of all the escape routes.
Most dumb criminals aren't thinking that way.
No. That's why I'm let's see what happens. I have a feeling he stole the skateboard.
Forget a getaway car, it says here. A man wanted for carjacking tried to flee from police on a skateboard in Los Angeles last month. In footage released by police on Friday, Pedro Villalobos, that's what it is. Villalobos can be seen abruptly jumping out of a stolen pickup truck, holding a skateboard after losing control of the vehicle in a police chase. Half a dozen cops who had pursued Villalobos on the erratic and dangerous 6 a.m. chase had their guns raised when he abandoned the truck pulling an attached trailer. Stop, let me see your hands, the cops can be heard warning. I can just imagine. Instead, Villalobos donning a hard-to-miss reflective yellow vest, that's a good way to track you.
Well, he did just leave his job as like a Walmart cart pusher where they wear the reflective vests.
I'm sure, yes. Took off down the dark street and smoothly jumped onto the skateboard, according to the video. Several officers pursued Villalobos on foot while additional units drove past Villalobos. I'll get it right. Position. LA police said in a statement. The accused crook didn't make it very far, however. An officer that drove past Villalobos' path jumped out of his cruiser and pushed him off his board as he tried to swerve around the cop.
Take that, you criminal.
Down with you, I say. Villalobos fell to the ground and was quickly covered by 4 officers. The suspect was taken to a hospital for treatment of an injury to his right leg that he sustained in the fall. Not in the summer, spring, or winter, but in the fall, Bruiser. Leading to a police investigation into the incident. The department is required to probe all law enforcement-related injuries. He was later booked on 2 counts of vehicle theft and 1 count of reckless evading. Did you know reckless evading was a charge?
I didn't know that, but now I know.
Another carjacking story for you on the other coast, the East Coast.
We're going over to the other side. Okay.
That's right. New York carjacking suspect crashes into a bus full of children while fleeing police.
Well, that's not good.
No, this one is a bit more reckless and less funny than the other one.
Well, it's not too less funny because he couldn't avoid the big giant yellow bus in front of him.
Well, now that you put it that way, especially when it has a big stop sign on the side of it.
Exactly. How do you not know a school bus?
Yeah. 2 suspects in New York were arrested this week after crashing a Jeep they allegedly stole at knife point into a school bus full of children while being chased by police. Police in Rochester, New York say 2 suspects stole a red Jeep at knife point from a 51-year-old female before being stopped by officers who tried to make a traffic stop. This according to Fox 5 News in New York. During the stop, police told the suspects to exit the vehicle, but the driver instead put the vehicle in reverse. Of course, because reverse is right 1 notch close to park.
Yeah, you know.
They then slammed into one of the police cars and took off.
Of course, because they're hoping to disable the police car.
Sure. Bystander Raymond Gonzalez heard the sirens and pulled out his phone in time to record the Jeep flying the wrong way down a street before crashing into the school bus that was carrying 17 children. 2 suspects then jumped out of the car and fled on foot. Why? Because they didn't have a skateboard. That's
they
why.
didn't prepare.
That's right. They weren't prepared. Officers can be seen on the video chasing one of the suspects and yelling at him to get on the ground before eventually apprehending him. Thankfully, the driver and every student was uninjured as a result of the crash, probably because most buses are built like tanks.
Yeah. Safety is number 1 on buses.
That's right. The city school district was advised of the accident and made arrangements to have each student transported home. Suspects were identified as 20-year-old Malik McCullough and Addison Hughes, who's 23, although Addison is spelled very weird. And both were charged for the involvement in the incident. McCullough is facing charges of first-degree robbery, second-degree assault, and both third and fourth-degree larceny, while Hughes has been charged with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. So there you go.
I'm surprised they didn't throw police battery on there. Say they hit a cruiser.
True.
They could have thrown a lot more at him because that's assaulting a police officer.
Well, you could say attempted murder.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
exactly.
They could have gone nuts.
Assault with a deadly weapon. The car is considered a weapon.
That's right. It's a 2,000-pound weapon.
Yep.
This next story, Bruiser, is going to blow your mind.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a dumb crime, but is the criminal stupid or naive? Or just plain messed up in the head?
There's a fine line between all 3 of those.
That's right. We're going to go to Maine. This involves 2 criminals. One is dumb. The other is a little too creative for their own good.
Okay.
And spinning out of control. Just spinning, and overthinking the situation. Okay. Every good crime needs a good accomplice.
Of course.
You would think. Now, remember how you said you've got all your plans sorted out here? You've got a getaway planned, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what I'm going to do.
Okay. So this team had it planned a little too much. Okay.
All right.
A Maine woman is charged with fake threats against a New Hampshire Walmart. The woman is charged with sending fake bomb threats to a New Hampshire Walmart. Where she was sitting when she made the threats is even more hilarious.
Was she on the toilet?
Oh, no.
In the Walmart?
I'll tell you in just a second, my friend. This is too good. A woman from Maine is under arrest after police allege she called in fake threats at a Walmart in Seabrook. According to Seabrook police, around 11 a.m. on Saturday, the officers received a report of a possible explosive device in the Walmart. Soon after, officers reported that someone called the police department directly, claiming a man in the store had a gun. Okay, now here's the deal.
Okay.
Why would she call the police about a man in the Walmart with a gun? There's more to this story.
Yep.
Okay. Officers evacuated Walmart and nearby stores to search the store and called in the New Hampshire State Police bomb squad to sweep for any explosive devices. The department reported that they did not find any threats. Okay?
Okay, of course.
Right. Here we go. Upon our arrival, we quickly determined there was no man with a gun inside of Walmart, said Lieutenant Timothy Monet, I believe it is, with the Seabrook Police Department. Walmart was evacuated, and we called in the State Police Explosive Disposal Unit, or their bomb squad, and they were able to come down to sweep Walmart and determine there was no threat to the public and that there was no device inside Walmart. The stores opened for business again at 1 p.m. It gets better. Dick D'Amelio was shopping at the Walmart when the hoax was called in. He told WMUR-TV that at first he and the other shoppers were unsure of what was happening. Okay. I was shocked. You really don't see that stuff around here. It's just a crazy world, D'Amelio said. Around 4 p.m., police say they found the suspect behind the hoax threats at the Best Western Hotel in Seabrook. 38-year-old Megan Levitt of Alfred, Maine, has been charged with false reports as to the explosives, false reports to law enforcement, false public alarm, criminal threatening, and possession of a controlled drug. All right?
Okay.
Police told WMUR-TV on Saturday that they were able to identify Levitt as the suspect and track her down quickly because she made the calls on speakerphone on her way to the shopping center in an Uber. All right. Now, here's the thing.
So she was hoping her Uber driver was deaf.
Or just not listening, because you're not supposed to listen to that stuff, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Here's the thing. Her driver heard her make the calls and subsequently alerted the police.
Well, he's a good citizen. Thank you.
Now, officers say she was coming to the complex because her boyfriend was about to be arrested at the Dick's Sporting Goods across from the Walmart for shoplifting.
She's going to save him a few days. Okay.
He was hiding in a changing room talking to her before she made the calls. Okay. Monet said that she made the calls in an effort to distract the police from arresting her significant other at Dick's Sporting Goods.
That's a great loving gesture.
Police said, we're thankful to the Uber driver for sticking around and flagging us down and letting us know that was really a big piece to our investigation, Monet said. Seabrook police do not believe Saturday's threats are related to a series of similar threatening calls that have been made across New England in recent months. Levitt is scheduled to be arraigned on Monday, March 20th. So you see, Bruiser, there's a bigger plan to the smaller plan. There's a guy in the changing room at Dick's Sporting Goods who's about to be arrested for shoplifting. But hey, you know what? Let's call in a bomb threat to the Walmart across the street and get all the cops over there so they can't arrest my boyfriend who shoplifted, a nut cup over at Dick's Sporting Goods. And let's get him out of there so we can get away in an Uber.
And I'll do it in the Uber because the Uber, as everyone knows, is the cone of silence.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. See how that works?
But you know what? Now they get to spend a romantic evening in jail.
Yeah. Now they can both get raped in a jail somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
not see each other for a while.
Exactly. Got to thank our buddy Tom for the monkey madness. I read about the baboons throwing rocks.
Yeah.
Tom wants to continue the monkey mayhem and the monkey paranoia this week.
So we got some more monkey stories, huh?
Yeah. He wants to go dumb crimes, stupid animals this week. He wants to report on a neighbor's pet monkey nearly ripping off a woman's ear. He wants to continue the monkey assault. A neighbor's pet monkey attacked an Oklahoma mom in her front yard over the weekend, nearly ripping off her ear while tearing out clumps of her hair.
Well, I wonder what she did.
I think it's just monkeys are getting a bad rap.
Yeah, monkeys, like the baboons protecting their territory.
Yep.
This monkey, who knows?
I think just, monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
Brittany Parker of Dixon told KXII she was relaxing in her home Sunday afternoon when a monkey climbed onto her front porch. I bet you this woman came out swinging. Let's see. He was pacing back, and then he was jumping off my railing and hitting my storm door, Parker said. The monkey, whose local owner has not been named, ripped off part of the home's door handle before Parker called 911 and police responded to the scene. Images from just before the attack show the beige creature climbing over Parker's porch furniture. Well, so far, I just see a monkey who wants to get in the house.
Yeah, monkey thinks he's at home.
Yeah, he thinks
he's lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's lost. He's scared. Wants to get in the home. Right?
Yep.
Exactly. Once Parker saw the monkey behaving normally toward the officer, she went outside with her son to get a closer look. Bad move.
Yeah, why would you do that? It's this random monkey. You don't know where this monkey came from.
Right.
Why would you go out there? How do you know it's not a militarized monkey?
Well, it turns out monkey didn't like mom and son.
Yeah, monkey's like, what are you doing in my house?
Monkey's scared.
Yeah.
You just came out and charged monkey. What does monkey do?
Rips her ear off.
Monkey charges back. That prompted the animal to charge when they came out of the house. He crawled up my back, yanked out multiple wads of hair, and then ripped my ear in half. It was just hanging, she told the outlet. Well, you charged the monkey.
Yeah.
Parker was taken to the hospital where she was treated for her injuries and given a rabies shot. What it said here. After the attack, the monkey went missing for several hours before a nearby friend of Parker's shot and killed the monkey.
Oh, no. Poor monkey.
Monkey didn't deserve anything to get shot.
No.
Jeez.
If anything, the owner should get shot for letting the monkey out.
That's right. You heard it first here. Dixon Police Chief Tim Duncan told KXII that Parker's call to report the monkey was so bizarre that the responders were not sure they heard correctly. It's Oklahoma. It happens, they said. We get animal calls all the time, she explained. It's something that we deal with. It's just monkeys are not a normal thing for us.
Well, there's not a lot of monkeys in Oklahoma.
I guess not. Both Parker and Duncan told KTUL that they were not aware there was a pet monkey in the area. Since the woman was injured pretty badly, we're taking the information to the district attorney's office and they'll make a final decision on what they want to do with the case, Duncan said. Meanwhile, Parker, who will require plastic surgery for her ear injury, said she's worried about safety in her neighborhood. Oh, yeah, because the monkeys are overrunning the neighborhood.
It's a whole Planet of the Apes right there in Oklahoma.
Madness, I tell you, madness.
You damn dirty apes.
Get my ear off your hand, you damn dirty ape. I think that there needs to be some type of law that says you need to have some kind of training as well as a certificate to even hold these type of animals, she said. Oh, Miss Overreactor, you know what? You came out of your house with your son and charged the monkey.
Yeah, you're the idiot that saw a wild animal, or what you need to presume is a wild animal, sitting on your front porch and thought, whoa, well, National Geographic and Disney, they pet these things. I'm going to go see what's up.
You should have stayed behind your screen door.
And called the police.
Well, even when the police came out to handle the monkey, let them get their ears ripped off.
Yeah, they're trained in that.
Yeah. You stay behind your door and see that they have secured the monkey, then come out and look at the monkey. When monkey's behind cage, you come see monkey.
Yes.
You don't know monkey. You see monkey. You don't do monkey.
No.
Wait, that didn't sound right.
Not a monkey see, monkey do situation.
Right. Monkey's already ripped the door handle off your door.
Yeah.
If monkey can rip door handle off your door, monkey can rip you in half.
Yeah, monkey can rip your off head.
So if you don't know monkey, why do you go up to monkey?
Yeah. Again, it goes along the lines of people see a wild animal and they think they can pet them. Look at the story we had a few weeks ago, the lady with the bison.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, stay there. Stay there. They don't understand English.
No, they don't.
This monkey doesn't know English. This monkey knows monkey.
Right. That's exactly right, Bruce.
And when you open that door, that monkey doesn't know if you're a friend or foe. So it's fight or flight. It fought.
That's right. And boy, did it fight. It did a Mike Tyson to you.
Yeah.
Took your ear. Just like that.
In fact, the monkey's name was Tyson.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But did you know that? No, because they shot him.
Yeah, exactly.
He would have introduced himself. He probably would have shared a banana. But no, you took out Monkey.
Yeah. There was no reason to shoot Monkey.
Now you just call him Monkey.
You could have darted Monkey.
Yeah, you could
return him.
Exactly.
Return him to his owner. Find the owner. Make the owner get a suitable habitat.
Now you know where owner is. Owner's hiding.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be charged with anything.
Oh no.
No.
He doesn't want to get hit with that bill.
Nope. He's like, you know what? You take Monkey. You take Monkey. I'll find new Monkey.
I have a monkey guy. I can go to my monkey guy.
I have a monkey guy. I'll get new Monkey. Because he's not going to get charged with monkey crime. No.
And this will be Monkey 2.
Monkey 2. That's right. This will be Monkey 2. We'll name him Buster Douglas.
There we go. Look at that.
Yeah. Succession. Yeah. We call it Succession. Monkey Succession. Yep.
And if you see another monkey on your front porch, just don't open the door.
Yeah.
Learn your lesson. Feel your ear or what's left of it. And be like, this isn't a good idea.
No, it's a very expensive lesson for you. Don't approach Monkey if Monkey is on front porch.
Yeah. Don't be like, oh, kids, come here. Let's go outside and pet the monkeys. No, you can do, oh, kids, come here. Let's look through the window at the monkey on our front porch.
That's right. That's right. Now, if Monkey knocks on door in suit and tie with Amway presentation, still don't let Monkey in. Monkey,
no, that's a ruse.
That's multi-level Monkey.
Yeah, there's either two things going to happen. The monkey's going to rip your ear off or throw feces at you. He's not selling you Amway.
Well, no, he could put his feces on the carpet and try and, get it back up with the Amway and then try to sell you Amway.
That's true.
Yeah, that could happen too. But either way, Monkey doesn't mean good. Monkey means harm.
I don't know, though. If I see a monkey in a suit and he shows up to my door, I might open the door. Just feel like, dude, you look awesome.
You look, dude, where'd you get the suit?
Yeah, I'm going to selfie with that monkey even as he's ripping my ear off. Just be like, he's in a suit, though. Look, he's in a suit.
Monkey look clean, right? Yeah. Got to get a selfie with Monkey.
Monkey figured this out.
Putting me and Monkey on the Insta. Yeah. Yeah, look at that. Monkey look clean.
Before you put me under to fix my ear, let me tweet this. Please, let me tweet this picture.
Yeah, let's get this on the gram.
Look how dapper this monkey is.
Look at Monkey. Look at Monkey. All right, let's move on. All right. We got two food stories here. One is actually, they're both kind of alarming.
Oh, okay.
I have a new way for us to make money.
Oh, all right. I'm all for it. Let's do it.
It's going to involve us stealing a lot of olives, though. Turns out,
you don't have an olive guy?
I love Olive Garden. I'm not a big olive guy.
Okay.
Because when you're at Olive Garden, you're family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what they say. You can't get all the breadsticks you want at Olive Garden. No.
Or you can't get. It's supposed to be all you can eat soup and salad, or salad and breadsticks.
They'll cut you off though.
They do.
Yeah, like most good families will be like, haven't you had too much carbs? I tried eating as many breadsticks as I could. They just they frown on that.
And then after a while, they only bring you two.
Yeah.
They can be like, oh, can I have some more breadsticks? Here's two. Okay, I'm going to eat these two. Can I put another order in for more breadsticks?
Do you really want to do that? They don't so much call you fatty when you when you're like, hey, can we get another basket of breadsticks? They're like, do you want a basket really?
They sure don't just want one or two.
You just want one or two because there's a lot of carbs on your plate. I noticed you got the tour of Italy. That's a lot of carbs.
Yeah. You're carbing out.
Yeah, you're carbing out here. Are you carb loading for a reason? Do you do keto during the week? Are you watching what you eat? Is there a doctor we can contact for you? They do a lot of family intervention stuff at Olive Garden.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it's part of the when you hear your family package. It's the we're way too nosy for your own.
So that means I can go in there and sit in a wife beater that's all stained, some cut off shorts so my testicles hang out. I can just be the creepy uncle.
Yes, please do. If you would, yeah.
And they go, sir, that's not proper dress. But hey, when you hear your family, and I got a creepy uncle, so
bring your own 6-pack, by the way.
I will, yes. Although I own 6-pack. Yeah. I don't smoke, but I'll have a pack of Newports rolled up in my sleeve, too.
Yeah, do that. Well, if you're wearing a dirty tank top, you can't roll it up in your sleeve.
Okay, I'll have it right in my. No, here's what I'll do. I'll have Mrs. Bruiser blow out her hair, put on like real big blush, and put the Newports in her bra.
Yes, please do. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. I'm sure they'll love you.
We'll be the creepy aunt and uncle.
You'll be the first one served.
Hey, when you're family, when you're here, your family.
Hey, when you're here, your family. That means they'll get you last. That's for sure. Let's go to Spain, shall we? Spanish thieves are busted for stealing over 19 tons of olives.
What are they going to do with that many olives? That's a lot of dirty martinis.
Have you tried paying for olive oil lately?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God. Extra virgin olive oil is off the charts. A band of thieves. Have you ever watched The Godfather?
Oh, yeah.
What was Vito Corleone's legit business?
It was olives, wasn't it?
Yeah, olive oil.
Yeah.
A band of thieves operating in rural Spain were busted after making off with over 19 tons of olives, that according to local authorities. The group robbed 6 farms in the Las Vegas region outside the capital of Madrid. I didn't know they had Las Vegas and Madrid.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
So now when I say I'm going to Las Vegas, it's more impressive because I can be, a world traveler.
Yeah, you're going to Madrid. See? Agence France Presse reported. Agence France Presse reported. 16 people have been arrested and 5 others investigated by national police. The Guardia Civil has arrested and investigated 21 people behind the theft of 17,500 kilograms or 38,580 pounds of olives in the Las Vegas region, according to police.
It's a whole olive ring.
It is an olive ring, yeah.
Yeah.
An investigation into the olive thefts began in January after a farmer reported that over 18,500 pounds of olives had been stolen from his land. Authorities connected the incident to other reports in the area of thefts involving significant quantities of olives, the Guardia Civil said. You ever seen an olive that hasn't been in a jar?
Yes, I have.
It looks like a grape.
Yes.
How would you not know when you go to pop it in your mouth that it's not a grape?
If you bought it from an olive farm, I'm assuming it's an olive, not a vineyard.
But how would you know it's not a grape? And I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Well, I'm assuming if they have an olive ring, they did their research and were like, okay, these are the olives.
But then you go to squeeze oil out of it and you get nothing but grape juice.
Hey, you know what? Still profitable.
That's true.
You let that ferment, you got wine.
True.
See?
Either way, it's valuable. Yep. Then in February, police received reports of 5 people carrying more than 300 pounds of olives in broad daylight, but they were not able to prove that they acquired them legally. Oh, yeah.
Do you have a receipt for those?
That's right. There's no receipt given. Police raided 2 olive presses in the Toledo and Guadalajara regions that were allegedly pressing the stolen fruit into olive oil. I didn't know olive was a fruit.
Oh, yeah. It's got a seed.
That's true.
The pit is a seed.
Yeah, pimento it is, isn't it?
Yeah, if it has a seed, it's a fruit. That's why tomatoes are fruit.
Oh, right. Okay. See, I learn something new every day. They were pressing the stolen fruit into olive oil and arrested those in charge. There you go. Investigators uncovered documents outlining the exchange of more than 19 tons of stolen olives and seized multiple tanks containing more than 1,500 gallons of olive oil.
So you're right. They're trying to get in on the olive oil market right now.
That's right. And it is profitable. Those arrested are between the ages of 20 and 57, were slapped with a number of charges, including theft, fraud, and receiving stolen goods, according to AFP. Prices of olives and olive oil have skyrocketed following last year's severe drought, threatening the world's supply. In Spain, which supplies 80% of the world's olive oil, harvests were down 50%, making it the worst season in the last 15 years. That, according to John Davis, chief meteorologist for Everstream Analytics, a supply chain predictive insights and risk analytics company. The wide-scale drought conditions across Europe, Mediterranean countries, and significantly impacted the global supply, since approximately 80% of olive production comes from this area, Davis told Fox Weather last month. One olive oil producer predicted that Spain had enough olive oil to supply domestic needs and said he believes there will be no olive oil available in the fourth quarter of 2023.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Davis told Fox Weather that olive oil prices in America have risen 30 to 50% depending on the area.
Jeez.
Yeah. Other issues affecting the industry include an olive tree killing bacteria, along with COVID-related production problems and supply issues stemming from the ongoing war in Ukraine. So if you thought olive oil was expensive now, those of you that use it, and a lot of heart-healthy people use olive oil, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, wait till the fourth quarter of 2023.
Yeah.
I did learn something, though. I didn't know Spain was such an olive producer. I always thought Greece. Greece and Italy?
Yeah,
you know?
Greece and Italy, but yeah, Spain is huge.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm shocked.
Yep. This next story, by the way, the other thing that's huge right now going up in price?
Eggs.
McDonald's.
Really?
The cost of McDonald's has skyrocketed.
Okay.
In fact, I could pull that story real quick if you want me to. It's, people are raging right now at the cost of McDonald's. It's kind of a funny story. I know people are like, McDonald's, really? Why would people get all upset about the cost of McDonald's? Think about it. How many people take their kids to McDonald's to satiate them?
Oh, yeah. See, you know what it was, Tim, is they got rid of the McRib, and now they don't have their moneymaker.
That's right. The most expensive place to get McDonald's is New York.
Well, that I believe. New York's just expensive.
A Big Mac in Hawaii is getting $5.31.
I believe that too, because that's an import.
New York is the next expensive, $5.23. New Jersey at $5.19. California at $5.11. Just for the sandwich.
You remember when you can get a meal for $5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The average price of a Big Mac right now is $5.15, nearly 22% more than pre-pandemic era.
I wonder why. That's crazy.
It's mainly the price of beef and bread.
Okay.
Yep. Out of more than the 13,000 McDonald's in the U.S., those in Mississippi were found to have the cheapest Big Macs at $3.91. That's still a lot of money.
That's still a lot, yeah.
Yeah. After Mississippi, the biggest bang for your buck can be found in Arkansas. Big Macs are available for $3.95, while Alabama, Missouri, and South Dakota tied for the cheapest option at $3.99.
Still, that's too expensive for a Big Mac.
Middle America states such as Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma all listed the Big Mac at $4.07. Let me see here. The cost of a Big Mac in North Carolina, $4.15. Here in Minnesota, $4.43.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, they always got the 2 for $5 menu, so the Big Mac's always on there.
You know what? They're taking a lot of that away.
Yeah, I know. I saw that the other day.
Yeah. A lot of that's going away.
Coming home from the show, I wanted to eat something, and I stopped at McDonald's. I didn't buy anything because they were closed, but I was just, where's these specials? They usually have the 2 for $5 or the
nope, they're getting rid
any drink for $1,
Yeah. Used to be they had the 2 for $5 menu. They're gone. You can't find them.
As soon as they got rid of the McRib, and now they're pandering because they need that moneymaker. The McRib was such a huge moneymaker. Just you and I alone. Here's your challenge for this week. If you're a fast food eater, McDonald's eater, anything, try to go to McDonald's and order just a regular meal for yourself under $10. Yeah. It's hard to do. I think even kids' meals are more expensive now too. So they are, but you can get a kid's meal under $10. But see if you can get just a regular meal for yourself under $10. Okay, it's hard to do. Yeah. The reason I bring this up, you may say, "Well, Tim, why are you talking about the cost of McDonald's?" A Florida woman pulled a gun in a McDonald's drive-thru over an item not on the menu. I'd like a Whopper. This is McDonald's. Yeah, give me a Whopper. We don't have Whoppers here.
Quavi Young, 26 years old, faces a felony charge. I'll show you a picture of Quavi in a minute. Yeah, you'll say, hey, I can believe she pulled a gun. A woman arrested Thursday night at a McDonald's in Cocoa, Florida. Of course, we're going to Florida. Accused of brandishing a gun in the drive-thru and pointing it at an employee due to an argument over a non-existent menu item is what she's accused of. An affidavit describes what responding officers were told by witnesses after arriving to find 26-year-old Quavi Young, 26 of Cocoa, behind the wheel with a gun in her passenger seat. The weapon was identified as an M&P Shield 9mm with a drum magazine capable of holding up to 50 rounds.
Why does a civilian need that?
Because
why would you just leave it on your passenger seat?
Because there's 10 employees working at McDonald's. I don't know why.
She doesn't want to reload. That's
right. News 6 called the McDonald's on Saturday, located at 927 Dixon Boulevard, to ask what the fuss was about.
Hi, this is the news. Yeah, what can I do for you? So why'd that lady pull a gun on you? What's going on?
They were informed that Young allegedly demanded a cheeseburger bundle, a sort of combo similar to what can be done for McDoubles or McChickens, and refused an employee's offer to sell her a cheeseburger and an a la carte order of small fries instead. So they offered a cheeseburger and an a la carte order of small fries. So she wanted this combo, a cheeseburger bundle, a cheeseburger. I've never heard of a cheeseburger bundle.
You know, they have those weird things on the app that you can only order on the app, where like they put the fish sandwich and burger together. You can order but it's only on the app you can do it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's something that's only on the app.
I wonder if she was talking about the Cardi B meal. You know, the one that's on.
Oh yeah. Her and her husband have that meal right now.
Yeah. An Offset, Cardi B, an Offset meal.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's talking about that.
She might. Who knows?
Because that's got a cheeseburger in it, doesn't it?
Yep.
Maybe that's what she was talking about. This occurred during the woman's second appearance to the drive-through lane that day. According to the employee on the phone in the affidavit, the employee described how things were a little busy in the drive-through lane during the first encounter with Young. The second time, the victim told police that Young pulled to the first drive-through window after being told she couldn't be served a meal that wasn't on the menu. Once there, the victim asked Young what her problem was, to which Young brandished the pistol. According to the affidavit, the victim then asked Young why she was so mad over a simple issue. Young pointed the gun at the victim, verbally threatened them as well before proceeding to the next window. Thank you for the gun. Please drive through.
Someone's getting her this meal.
Yeah, exactly. When police arrived, officers also learned that Young did not have a valid driver's license. Well, that'll hurt you.
Hey, when you're craving McDonald's, you're craving McDonald's.
Yeah, you are. Young faces.
And you can't Uber with a 9mm.
No, you can't. You just can't. Young faces charges of open carry of a weapon, knowingly driving with a suspended license, her first offense, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill, the last charge being a felony. She was booked early Friday morning, given how much bond?
$5,000 bond. A
little higher.
$20,000 bond.
No, a little lower.
$13,500.
$7,500.
Okay.
And she bonded out on Saturday morning. So
good for her. She found somebody to bond her out.
She had that cheeseburger bundle money after all. So yeah, the other thing, I found out that there's also a TikTok deal. I tried once at McDonald's here about a week and a half ago.
Okay.
It's called you can do a McDouble Mac style, supposedly.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever tried this?
I've asked for a McDouble and they put the Mac sauce on it. Okay. I've asked for that.
They screwed it up royally at my local McDonald's.
Really?
So if you order a McDouble Mac style, what they're supposed to do is not put the ketchup, mustard, and pickle on it. But what they do is they're supposed to put 2 slices of cheese on it, the lettuce and the Mac sauce and the onion. So they're supposed to make it like a Big Mac.
Okay.
Okay. So you're supposed to say McDouble Mac style, and they're supposed to automatically know what it is. It's supposed to be on the secret menu.
Right.
I got the grossest effing thing put in my bag. Right. So I got this McDouble Mac style and a Diet Coke.
Okay.
That's all I got. Right. Just the one
easy.
sandwich. Easy. It should be easy peasy, right?
Right.
Okay. So I get home, I open it up, and I've got ketchup, mustard, pickle, onion, and just mac sauce.
Oh.
It was disgusting. I didn't even eat it. I threw it away.
Soggy.
Yeah. It was just, it looked like somebody threw bodily fluid onto my burger. Yeah. Yeah. So I just threw it in the garbage. It was no good.
You didn't try it back with your 9mm?
No, I thought about it. Yeah. I loaded up my 9mm with the 50 round mag.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, someone's paying for this.
You're like, I'm getting my double cheeseburger back.
Yeah, I'm getting my cheeseburger bundle, motherfucker.
Yeah.
This is what Quavi looks like. It looks like she probably totes a 50 mil or a 9mm 50 mag.
Those have to be contacts.
They are contacts, yeah.
She is terrifying.
Isn't she?
That's a horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah, she looks gangster. Yep.
She is terrifying.
Yep. She is. I wouldn't mess with her.
No, I wouldn't either.
I'm just saying, if she pulled up with a 9mm on me, I'd be like, hey, you can have whatever you like.
Yeah, tell me what this bundle is. I'll make it for you.
Yep. Only not safe for work. Not safe for work. This is our last story of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. This is not safe for work. Turn down your audio devices if you're at work. If you got the kids in the room, I don't know why you still have them in the room after everything we've read. Get them out of the room. We will read the story in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bruiser.
Yes.
I have a huge problem with this story. I'll tell you why I have a huge problem with this story. If you've been on OnlyFans, and you've been showing that ass.
I'm thinking about doing it.
And you've been making them monies.
I've been thinking about doing it.
And you've been making them huge amounts of monies.
Oh, yeah. Getting those ducats.
Is it really revenge porn? If someone takes those pictures and makes a little money on it?
I think so, because technically you still own them, right?
But if you...
I don't know how that works, because, you can't save... I don't have any OnlyFans subscriptions, so, can you save the pictures?
Now, let me explain the situation, because a Florida OnlyFans model is suing her boyfriend for $6.3 billion. That's billion with a B, Bruiser. This is where it gets ridiculous.
She better be the hottest woman on the planet.
She's not. That's the thing. I don't know where she's coming up with this figure. She is literally pulling this out her OnlyFans ass.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's her current boyfriend, who I'm assuming is taking the pictures of her.
He's got to be. And it's a big ass at that. I'll show you a picture of that as well. Because it's all over this article. That's not the thing that's pulling in that money, though. Supposedly, she's got a 6.5-inch tongue.
Jeez.
And that's what's pulling in the money.
It's Gene Simmons, huh?
I guess. The reason why she's suing for $6.3 billion, and ladies, before you jump all over me, not saying I wouldn't enjoy that, but is because allegedly he took control of her social media accounts and shared explicit content without her consent. She's calling that revenge porn.
I don't see it as revenge porn, but I can see him, if he's taking over his socials and she didn't give permission, that is illegal.
But he promoted her OnlyFans site.
Yeah. I don't think it's $6.3 billion worth. And you're still dating and he's still taking pictures of you. Revenge porn's when you don't know about it. She knows that these explicit photos are there.
Let me read the story, and you decide if it's worth $6.3 billion. I just think it's stupid.
I agree.
A Florida OnlyFans model whose claim to fame is an abnormally long tongue is suing her boyfriend for $6.3 billion. That's billion with a B. She's not even worth that much. For allegedly taking control of her social media accounts and sharing explicit content without her consent. Michaela Saravia, who's 25 years old, claims 27-year-old Nicholas Hunter seized her OnlyFans and Twitter accounts after they ended their turbulent 5-year relationship in October. I guess they're not still. The social media sensation charged in a federal lawsuit filed last week that Hunter changed the passwords and began posting graphic images and videos. She has 2 accounts on OnlyFans, one that may be viewed for free, and a more explicit one that is accessible for $30 a month.
Oh, geez.
According to the paper. Hunter allegedly seized the paid account, according to the lawsuit. For months, defendant's conduct continued, wrote Saravia's lawyer, Joseph DeRusso, who accused Hunter of selling an X-rated video of Saravia for $35 and images for $10 and $13 in January, among other allegations. Defendant used the OnlyFans account to sell sexually explicit videos. Okay, maybe I'm in the wrong here. To sell sexually explicit videos and images of the plaintiff based on material he had amassed prior to the severance of their business and personal relationship, he added in his filing. Saravia's Instagram and Twitter accounts, which promote her OnlyFans content, have over 8 million and 655,000 followers, respectively. DeRusso acknowledged that Saravia had posted explicit content before the couple's breakup, but said that in those cases, she was in control of the material site that she released. Let's see here. Just because you consented to an image in the past, it does not mean you're giving someone permission to post additional content without your consent, he said. Because he's profiting off of it, doesn't mean that she consented to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. The lawsuit seeks damages of $10,000 for each of the 628,000 followers she had in October when the relationship ended. It was not immediately clear whether Hunter has hired a lawyer in the revenge porn case. Saravia and Hunter are also suing each other in a civil domestic violence case in Broward County, Florida, according to the news outlet. In 2019, Saravia lapped up more than $100,000 a year by flaunting her tongue, which is 6.5 inches long, on Instagram, where she had 2 million followers at the time. How do you make $100,000 on Instagram?
They monetized it so you can get sponsorships and stuff like that. And then you get paid for reels, and you have to do so much to get to the pay part, but it's possible.
Now, my question here is, and this is what we don't know. She claims that all that money from the OnlyFans is hers, but did they open the account jointly?
That's what I want to know. Like,
yeah.
And who is he taking the pictures? Did she pay him to take the pictures? Like,
yeah.
Did he get paid to be in the explicit? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And how does he know the passwords?
Exactly. Like, did she approve him to run it? You know, I mean, there's so much on here that could be, that needs to be discussed, you know?
Right. So that's why I'm skeptical. $6.3 billion. Why are you suing for $6.3 billion?
She's not worth $6.3 billion, but she's not unattractive.
No, she's not unattractive. No.
But not 6 point.
By the way, ladies, we're not rating your worth by dollars here.
No, we're not.
No. But we're looking at this woman and going, come on. She says she's worth $6.3 billion. There's nobody on OnlyFans that's worth $6.3 billion.
Correct.
Right.
No, she's an attractive girl, and I can see her making money on OnlyFans. Yeah.
There's just no way she's pulling down $6.3 billion.
No.
So, she's swinging for the fences. The thing is the amount. When you're suing for that amount,
well, my question is too, if she wins, how's he going to pay that?
Exactly. There's no way he can pay that. He hasn't made that. You can't
Right.
prove that he's made that, especially in the videos that he's put out there.
Exactly.
So the judge,
and as far as I'm concerned, if you have an OnlyFans account, any deposits go into a bank account, she should be able to see the bank account.
yeah, exactly. So if the judge says, okay, you never had the right to have the password in the first place, it completely belongs to Saravia, then it goes back to her. The OnlyFans account goes back to her. You give up the passwords so she can change the passwords, and it's completely her account. You've made so much revenue, that revenue goes back to her.
Exactly.
And that's fair. And that's
and you take each other off the joint account if it's a joint account or whatever.
yeah. And then you decide on damages and how much damages are to her reputation or whatever for putting out that material. And you can charge him in a civil suit for how much, damages are.
Yeah.
But you can't necessarily.
And how is this damaging her image? You know what I mean? You don't go to OnlyFans to look at pictures of flowers and birds. You know what I mean? There's a reason people go to OnlyFans.
Right. Because it'd be like, I'm going to use the example of Wu-Tang Clan. Okay. Wu-Tang Clan released that one album for Martin Shkreli.
Yes.
It got, Martin Shkreli, when he got arrested, went to jail. That album is out there. Now they're trying to decide what to do with that album. Okay.
Right.
So that album is out there. If someone were to buy that album and release it to the public, well, there's nothing really Wu-Tang can do about it. They sold that album to Martin Shkreli.
Yeah, but they still get royalties from every sale.
Not of that one album. They auctioned it off.
Also, they didn't make there's no record deal with that or anything.
There was a contract that said that there are certain things that you can do with it. It's this piece of art, but he was never to release it to the public. That was part of the contract. So there has to be a new contract written.
Yeah, and I'm sure Wu-Tang would want to get financially
right. But in this case, you don't know what the business arrangement was.
Exactly. She's just saying he did this as revenge. She's saying, no, we were working together. You don't know what the agreement was.
Right.
But there has to be some sort of agreement because A, she can see how much her OnlyFans is making. B, she had to have given him the passcodes to upload stuff.
Because the one thing in this story says defendant used the OnlyFans account to sell sexually explicit videos and images of the plaintiff based on material he had amassed prior to the severance of their business and personal relationship. So in other words, he had been in business with her the entire time.
Yes.
So it's assumed that he has assumed the business relationship has continued. So he thinks that, okay, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Even though we don't like each other anymore, we're not in, we can still do business. Somewhere in there, she said, no, we can't do business. So this is a business.
But yet didn't change the passcode or anything like that.
No, evidently not. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with you. She needs to go back and see, since they've broken up and they dissolved the relationship, even if it's the business relationship, find out how much money he's made since then, and she can sue him for that. Because there you can prove, hey, it's $30 a month. Let's say she has, just 10 followers is $30,000 or $3,000. Like, okay, cool. I'm going to sue you for $5,000 because of the $3,000 you took from me, and then $2,000 for pain and suffering and damage to my product. Or my image. Now you're reasonable. Now a judge isn't going to laugh at you. But $6.3 billion, like, were you high? Like, you just sit around going, were you passing a McDonald's sign that says 99 billion served and go, there we go. Yeah. They got it right.
Yeah. And she's complaining about things like this. Now in the article they post like a Twitter account thing, and she's mad because he went in the Twitter account and said, like, for the next hour, my OnlyFans is free. So what he would do in order to drive business is for the next hour, you would get a free membership. In other words, you would get access to the free membership.
Okay.
So she was upset about that.
Because for an hour he gave away free. You see, now she can go back and she can look in that hour how many people did the free thing. Again, if it's 10 people, charge $30. That's $3,000. Right?
Yeah.
$300.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
My math sucks. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
She can go, okay, you owe me this much money because you did it. Okay, and let's say he did it 5 or 6 times. Well, you just multiply that. Okay, cool. You owe me this much money.
But then he can also go back and he can prove retention rate too. He can say, well, those free members ended up holding on for the $30 a month. He can also say, well, you know, those 30 or those 10 members held on for the $30 a month. You know, and they continued on for so many months. And so really we made this much profit off that promo. So, you know, there's, I mean, we're breaking down basic business here, but essentially that,
which is essentially they didn't do when they got into it.
Yeah, they exactly.
And that's why you shouldn't go into the business with family or loved ones without a contract of some sort.
That's right. So this is just one big lesson in business.
Exactly. That's what this is. Like, she's learning the hard way business, you know?
Right. Yeah. So that's exactly what it is. So she's saying she's reacting emotionally, obviously, by asking for $6.3 billion.
Which means he probably broke up with her.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. And he's saying, well, we're still working as a business because I'm releasing material, you know, and you're making money and we're making money.
Yeah.
And she's not liking it.
No, she's got to take all, like, it's not like he locked her out of her socials either.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So that's it. And that's that. So that's Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, kids, for today.
We'll come up with an agreement when we come up with our OnlyFans, okay?
Yes, when we come up with our OnlyFans, when Bruiser and I come up with our OnlyFans, we won't sue each other for $6.3 billion because there just won't be $6.3 billion to split there.
No.
Maybe $6.3.
Maybe a Big Mac meal in New York.
That's right. We can get a Big Mac in New York, not a meal, a Big Mac.
Just a sandwich. You're right.
Just a sandwich. We won't be able to afford that much. Jeez. Let's not be that optimistic. A Big Mac meal is like $20, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, we can't, you know, we can hope, but we can't hope at the same time.
Take different pictures of you holding your 9mm with the 50-gallon drum.
With the 50 mil or the 50
round drum.
Round magazine. Yeah. Or it is a drum at that point, isn't it?
We'll douse you in Julia and Jellybean's barbecue sauce.
Yeah, Jellybean and Julia's barbecue sauce. Oh my God, it's so good. Yeah, with the root beer sauce. I'll be doused in root beer sauce, and I'll have a monkey on my shoulder tearing my ear off.
We'll stage the monkey like it's gonna tear your ear off, but we'll cut before your ear actually gets torn off.
Be like, Tyson, tear my dick off. I don't know. It'll be something. I don't know. Yeah, it'll be something. Tomorrow on the show, folks. Going on tomorrow. Supernatural news.
Yep.
Yeah, supernatural news. So we've got lots of good stories for you there on Supernatural News tomorrow. And then we got a surprise for Thursday. I'll let you know tomorrow what we got for yeah. I'm going to keep it.
Surprises are good.
Surprises are good. So I'll keep it secret till tomorrow. So that's what's going on. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. The book Lou and Jon Benet is out there right now by Wild Blue Press. We encourage you to go pick it up, and we want to thank our guest today, John Wesley Anderson, for being on. Go pick it up. There's a link in the description of the show, and we want to thank him for being on as well. We want to thank you for listening today to True Crime Tuesday. We appreciate you being there each and every Tuesday for listening to the show. For Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for being here for the best in true crime podcasting. This has been True Crime Tuesday.